Phase 1, Episode 2. Our story continues as the three students, Nox, Jum, and Raz, meet with Crew Anda, the elderly Duros caretaker of a foster home in the undercity of Corellia. Crew tells the group that he was the one who reached out to Pasita for help, and that the Hidden Hand Lieutenant Stromrock has discovered an old, defunct droid factory and is forcing the less fortunate to work in it. The party manages to sneak inside, narrowly avoiding detection on the main level thanks to Jum regarding his connection to the Hidden Hand. A quick look around reveals that Stromrock found plans for cheap battle droids and wants to mass-produce an army for himself. A sudden commotion from below leads to the factory finally coming back online, spurring the group to action. Pasita gives a sly smile to the group before leaping to the center of the room and engaging his lightsaber, allowing our party to sneak to the lower level. Declan and his students find Stromrock below, a massive, muscle-bound Dewutin reveling in his success. Upon seeing Jum, he attempts to smooth everything over by offering to cut Jum in and allowing him a leadership position once his new droid army destroys Boss Crag. This disgusts Jum, and battle quickly ensues. While it was a harrowing battle, our party prevailed, destroying the machinery required to make the battle droids. With Stromrock defeated, incapacitated on the floor, Jum walks over to him. A dark shade falls over Jum as Stromrock curses him in his name and activates an explosive charge. Jum lifts his blaster and takes his life. The party runs as the factory begins to collapse on itself, catching up with Pasita and just barely making it out. The party regroups at the Anda home, sticking to the back streets to make sure they weren't followed. Declan is a bit perturbed by Jum's actions, but Pasita seems to accept it as an inevitability. Jum warns Crew to be wary, as Boss Crag may come looking around after Stromrock's disappearance. Pasita says his goodbyes to the group, saying that the Force is calling him to the Outer Rim and he must answer. Declan decides to do something about their newfound crystals by way of attempting to purify them together with his students.
The will of the Force is life. Natural life. Going against the Force, destroying, killing, hurting. These are a cancer in the Force. And while many atrocities have been committed, using these tools in front of you, while you may not be able to do anything for the people and the beings that have been slain and cut down, tortured and genocided by these tools, you can use them to promote peace and life and freedom. Listen to the Force. Let the Force use you.
The corrupted crystals give the three students twisted and horrifying visions of potential futures. The harrowing is still there, however. Nox. A familiar hand holds an angry red blade. It's your hand. Jax, missing an arm, is laid in a mud pool, blasterless, helmetless, defeated. And he is attempting to crawl away. Pushing his feet back, pushing his boots back, everything, trying to get away. The scene flashes. You're in an unfamiliar place. The body you're in is not your own. It's a human body. They're high above the clouds somewhere on a planet you're not familiar with. They're in a room. There are
a lot of beings that look like Daclin. Robe-wise, they're familiar, and they're all speaking, congratulating this body on their advancement to Padawan, rank that you've heard once or twice before. A blade constructed, a blade made new. And it flashes back between them rising up in a salute and your hand rising up, angry above Jax's prone body. June. Stromrock is laid defenseless before you. A building crumbles around your body. You can hear the faint whisper of friends behind you, but you can't quite make anything out. There is no blaster in your hand. There is an angry blade. And it points at him, right at his chest. There's a flash, a flicker. Your sister, your mother, tied up, cast at the feet of a throne. A familiar tablecloth, a familiar bedspread, a familiar blanket, with a saber rolled up inside of it. A familiar one, a curved one that you know spits an orange blade. And it is rolled out as an offering to a familiar pair of boots. Roz. There's a clash. Green meets red over and over. A river flows unstoppingly beneath you. Tree branches give way as you leap, bounding after each other one at a time. You can't hear anything, the rapids too loud. The only thing you can feel is the clash of murderous intent. At the final meeting of these two blades, you're transported to a hangar. Fire surrounds you. Ships crash and burn. The sound of turbo lasers go off just outside of a hangar bay lot. Your uncle lies there unconscious, surrounded by these licking flames. A blade, not apparent, but you hear one coming.
The students are whisked away in their collective vision to the foot of the High Reclaimant's throne.
You three look up, elevated even higher. You find yourself in the base of a tree somewhere far, far away. There's a tablet there that looks very familiar, or a table, stone table that looks very familiar. You see Daclin, who looks in much better shape and a lot younger. Not by much. He just doesn't have as much gray. His hair hasn't thinned as much. And Roz, you would see Noxilus is there. Ossic is there. Words go spoken that you don't understand or are made to not be able to hear. And sabers are ignited. A brief clash. Eventually, you see Ossic yield. Turns his saber off and surrenders. You see Daclin stride forward and cut him down without a second thought.
Greg, right?
The likeness of.
You may call me High Reclaimant. And now
I don't
you've
like this.
seen
Oof.
the truth of your master.
Perhaps, but not the whole truth. Only affection.
I assure you, every time I see it, it feels as real as when it happened to me.
Noxilus.
You?
In a form. I have no use for that name. That was bestowed upon me by a small-minded master who failed. I serve no master but the Force. I give you that option as well. These crystals I made, I constructed for you. Bled for you. And you can take them, turn them into weapons. And I will show you a path to true power. Undeniable power. The power to save an uncle. The power to save family. And the power to strike down those you hate the most.
Including the defenseless.
No one's defenseless.
Jacqueline once told me that we have to be better. I'm gonna follow that advice.
He leans forward, knees on the side of his throne. Then you will be tested. And I assure you, you will be found wanting. And the
Bring it.
scene blows away in the wind. The last thing left, just the visage of the High Reclaimant on the throne, for he too crumbles into ash. And you three are back in the hull of the Justicar with crystals in your hands.
Nox denies him, and the vision of the High Reclaimant crumbles. The three students find themselves back in the hold of the Justicar, holding crystals purged of the dark side. R6 alerts them that they've appeared somewhere with wreckage of a station in the viewport, still holding atmosphere. They board and begin exploring. They find that this station had a heavy Jedi presence and a workroom accessible by Daklin's lightsaber. The students find work tables and begin to construct their first lightsabers. After many grueling hours, our students finally face the moment of truth and turn on their sabers.
As you step forward, mind foggy, heart beating, you thumb the ignition. A pretty much brilliant, or yeah, 5 is lighter. A brilliant sort of magenta-ash blade erupts
yes.
first from the top and then sputters out of the sides, flicking kind of like as you're cranking the key in your ignition, and eventually it catches crystal in place, and a full beam, thick, emerges, bright, casting light from the center of the room.
My hilt is it's pretty. It's yeah, I don't say it's curved at all. Really straight. probably about 1.5 feet, maybe a little shorter than 1.5 feet long. Very sleek, smooth the whole way down, with a sort of like angled cap at the end.
Hell
And
yeah.
then the piece that the lightsaber juts out of, there's kind of a small like hand guard, like not necessarily rapier how it comes around. It's just large, kind of around the opening of the lightsaber. And from that point, there's a kind of like metal hand guard, but it's in the shape of a crescent moon that comes to about 3 or 4 inches up the end of the hilt. And it's pretty slim to the hilt and relatively thin. I would like to turn it on.
As you step forward, the ignition on, and a thin, long, brilliant aqua green blade extends from your hilt, and it's like even lighter than like a lime green. It's like has a lot of white in it, just very faintly sea foam all the way through.
So,
Last up,
my Shoto hilt. It's black and takes a very rectangular shape. And for the sake of balancing, I have stored the crystal in the butt of the hilt, all the way at the bottom. And the conduits, which bring the power from the saber, from the crystal to the end of the saber, are inladen in the external portions of the hilt. So whenever I ignite it, the color just seeps forward in a whatever color we're about to find out.
Ooh.
And it's a very much a dagger hilt. So
gotcha. So,
Holy shit.
Drum it on. And a golden orange
ooh,
blade creeps forward from the bottom.
yes, sir. And it
And
just kind of
shunts
creeps up
out
the hilt.
of the top in an angle. Probably what, maybe 1.5 feet long, maybe 2 feet, maybe. Normal
Yeah,
blade,
maybe
like the saber
yeah.
you have, is probably 3 feet. So if you want to go off that,
Okay, what's Raz's?
Raz's is probably 48 inches. So
Okay, cool.
probably,
So, yeah,
or maybe
so
even
definitely
5,
shorter than his.
depending. I'll leave
Okay, yeah,
that
so
up
maybe
to you.
like I'd say 1.5 feet. Mine's probably about the size of his hilt.
Okay, cool.
Good lord.
Yeah, about 1.5 feet.
Hell yeah. Hey, everybody's got their lightsaber turned on. I'm gonna
That's
hit
awesome.
it. Wow. Wow. Hit the Makashi salute.
With their sabers successfully crafted, where will our party head to next? Is the High Reclaimant still watching? Find out more in our next episode of Sunstrider Stories.